What's up, everyone? This is Just Wayne, and welcome to the Just Wayne Show. We are doing a Kendrick Lamar Super Bowl halftime recap today, and there's so much symbolism and so much to get to. And so, without further ado, thanks for coming to my Wayne Talk, and let's go.
There is nothing that I wouldn't do.
For your attention, please. Can I have your attention, please? Everybody just look at me. Everybody just look at me.
When Kendrick Lamar was asked, what should fans expect from the Super Bowl halftime show, he had this to say.
What should people expect to see and understand about Sunday's performance?
Storytelling. I think I've always been very open about storytelling through all my catalog and my history of music, and I've always had a passion about bringing that on whatever stage I'm on. You know, whether it's a war tour or whether it was 500 people at Key Club. I've always had a form of that, so I like to always carry on that sense of, you know, make people listen, but also see and think a little.
And when we were leading up to the Super Bowl halftime show, I was advising people to go back and to rewatch Kendrick's 2018 Grammys performance from when he was nominated for Damn, that was entitled A Satire by Kendrick Lamar XXX featuring U2, because I felt like it would be a great encapsulation of kind of what his artistry looks like when he's putting together these types of performances, that he's not going to get up there and just run through his hits, that he's going to tell a story. And if you remember the last time we talked about this, I said I didn't know what the set list was going to be because I didn't know what story he was going to want to tell. We now know what that story is. The story, we're just going to entitle The Great American Game, because what we're getting is the narrator, this character of Uncle Sam, who has instructed us that this is what we're looking at. And so what I want to do is I want to break down some of the symbolism. I want to connect some of these pieces of symbolism back to Kendrick Lamar's overall discography. And then I want to talk about what the big takeaway for me was from the entire show. But before we even get into that, I want to make it very explicitly clear. What Kendrick did was art. And there are going to be a lot of people who are going to get online and they're going to say it was boring, or I wish he had done more hits. I was out watching the game, and our waiter was saying that she was super excited for the show because she's a big Kendrick Lamar fan. And then afterwards she was like, oh, I just wish she would have done more of his hits. And I understood where she was coming from, but I don't think Kendrick was setting out to entertain us as primary. I think it's important to recognize that there are artists and there are entertainers. And there are a lot of artists who are good at entertaining, but not all entertainers make art. And what Kendrick was attempting to do was making art that entertained. And the entertainment was secondary to what he was trying to communicate. And for a lot of people, it went over their heads because what they want in this space is purely entertainment. And that's okay. You just need to recognize that when you go into an art studio, that it's not always going to feel like watching a movie. But in this case, I think he gave us a movie if we paid attention. And so right away, like I said, we get this concept of the Great American Game, and Uncle Sam, who was played by Samuel L. Jackson, giving us right away the first cameo, the first big surprise we got, and his introduction was like this.
Salutations! It's your Uncle Sam, and this is the Great American Game.
Now, as a person who knows Kendrick's discography, Uncle Sam is not a new character. It's a character that shows up as the first villain in To Pimp a Butterfly. We see right away in Wesley's Theory, what you want, you a house, you a car, 40 acres and a mule, a piano, a guitar, anything. Say my name is Uncle Sam, I'm your dog. Mother, you can live at the mall. I know you're kind, that's why I'm kind, right? So you get right away this character who's being introduced, who's going to lead through the first major act of To Pimp a Butterfly. And he ends up saying, I'll Wesley snipe you by 35, right? The Uncle Sam is intending to get Kendrick to be this rapper, to, you know, be cliche, to wear those gaiters and say, you know, bump my haters. Like he wants him to be cliche because I could see the dollar in you. He wants to pimp Kendrick Lamar for the dollars and then not have him pay taxes for it, so that he can Wesley snipe him. That's the character Uncle Sam. And we see this character of Uncle Sam also showing up in the song For Free, where the antagonist in that song says, I'm gonna get my Uncle Sam to come get you, right? And then in the song All Right, when Kendrick says, and when I wake up, I recognize you looking at me for the pay cut. Muhammad said, I've been looking at you from the waist down. Like, Michael Levin making room at the playground. Excuse me. Like this is him coming out of this battle with Uncle Sam and saying, you know what? My homicide be looking at you from the face down. Like he's willing to crucify Uncle Sam in order to get to the next stage of who he's supposed to be. Unfortunately, in that same song, we get introduced to another character, which is Lucy, who says the same thing. What you want, you a house, you a car, 40 acres and a mule, a piano, a guitar, anything. So my name is Lucy. I'm your dog. Mother, you can live at the mall. I can see the evil. I can tell it. I know it's illegal. But anyway, I'm getting beside myself. And so Uncle Sam as a character exists in Kendrick's discography. And in this particular story, we're going to see Uncle Sam as the narrator. He's narrating us through what Kendrick is trying to communicate about this game. It should also be noted that the entire stage is designed like a controller, like a PlayStation controller. And in the Heart Part 6, the real version, not Drake's version, he talks about how they were playing PlayStation in the studio and writing rhymes, waiting to get on when they were first signed to TDE. And so I think it's super interesting to look at not just the micro symbolism of this PlayStation controller as of Kendrick's humble beginnings, but also macro of the game that Kendrick is being asked to play, and subsequently that Black America is being asked to play in the face and in response to Uncle Sam. And Uncle Sam says throughout this story, and we're going to get after it, that Kendrick needs to find a way to give America what it wants. And so we get this controller design, we get Uncle Sam, and then we get introduced as Kendrick starts rapping an unreleased song. Like he starts rapping from the snippet from the beginning of GNX, which I think is hilarious because so many people text me or in my DMs or commenting on videos being like, what do you think the first song is going to be? And I figured it was going to be Whacked Out Murals. It just feels very aggressive. I've heard some people say that they thought it was going to be Don't Kill My Vibe, which I thought would have also been super fitting. But I thought, no, he's going to want to do something that feels slightly aggressive to set this thing up. And I was wrong, but I had the right direction. Kendrick was definitely in the vein or in the mindset of being like, no, we're going to come out aggressive. And he comes out with this unreleased song. And one of my favorite moments in the entire show is all of the performers coming out of the car, all the dancers coming out of the car, like it was a clown car. The effect itself, it's almost like they had the other door open and they're climbing through and then getting out. It was phenomenal to see. But you have all these dancers coming out in red, white, and blue as Kendrick is rapping this part. And then we get right into Squabble Up. Now, before we get into Squabble Up, I want to just hone in on the red, white, and blue because it's going to become a motif, a color motif that carries throughout. And this red, white, and blue is a color motif that we see throughout Kendrick's discography as well. So working kind of backwards a little bit on Damn in the song XXX featuring U2, Kendrick really on the entire album of Damn, it is a satire about the state of America. And Kendrick uses a character, Kung Fu Kenny, who is this lost prophet who is running from God and is going through all these series of emotions as he's doing it, only to get to XXX, where we see that Kung Fu Kenny is America. And so Kendrick says, America is a reflection of me. That's what America does, right? So the entire thing is this large satire about the violence and yet religiosity that America walks in, this walking contradiction that it is. And so we see this idea of America embodied in Kung Fu Kenny and embodied in the satire there. And so the red, white, and blue obviously being the colors of America, and you have that connection point on the album Damn. Then on To Pimp a Butterfly, we had on Hood Politics when Kendrick refers to the combination of Bloods and Crips and Democrats and Republicans. He calls them Democrips and Republicans. Democrips and Republicans on Hood Politics, which is one of my son's favorite songs. I've been A1 since day one, boo boo. And we'd be in the car like, boo boo, boo boo on the dead homies, right? And so we get that red and blue, which we saw in the Kid and Friends pop out. There's unity of the gangs, which I know Cole Kushner from the Dissect podcast pointed out that Kendrick was wearing purple in a lot of the imagery leading up to the Super Bowl as this like blending of red and blue and kind of this gang unity. And so you have that gang unity and also this kind of idea of the politics of America that are red and blue. And then finally in Good Kid, Mad City, in the song Good Kid, one of the coolest things, everyone talks about Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst is like one of the most well-written songs by Kendrick, and I agree. But Good Kid is so cool for me in the way that it takes the concept of red and blue in the first verse, as the story of Good Kid is Kendrick is getting stomped out at this point in the narrative of Good Kid, Mad City. And so the first one he's talking about, and what am I supposed to do when the colors are red and blue, as in like the gang affiliations. And then in the second verse, he goes, and what am I supposed to do when when the lights are blinking red and blue, as in the police. And so you get this idea of these colors as being a multifaceted representation of violence, whether it's American violence, whether it's the violence of politicians, whether it's the violence of gangs, or whether it's the violence of police. It's playing out. That is the game that we are all playing. And Kendrick is trying to navigate the different elements of this game. And so Kendrick ends up saying, the revolution is about to be televised, but you picked the right time and the wrong guy.
The revolution about to be televised. You picked the right time, but the wrong guy.
And the question is he saying that Kendrick Lamar is the wrong guy? Like, this is the right time. The Super Bowl halftime show. The revolution is going to be televised, but y'all picked the wrong one to do this if y'all know what I'm about to be on. Like, I'm about to act a fool. And if you knew how much of a fool I'm about to act, how much of a donkey I'm about to act, you picked the wrong guy, America. Or with Donald Trump sitting in the stands, is Kendrick saying the revolution will be televised. We picked the right time, but the wrong guy, as in Donald Trump as president. Now, this is important, given Kendrick's discography, to recognize that that large satire that is the album Damn that I was describing was written in response to the reality that Donald Trump won the presidency in 2016. And so when we recognize that the whole irony of Damn being this juxtaposition between violence and religiosity, between seeking after God and trying to and doing things that are hurtful to other people. Like even on a song like Humble, which we're going to get to in a second, the song is called Humble, but he is not humble at all in the entire song, right? And so I think like it would make sense that this is what Kendrick is talking about, that the revolution will be televised. You picked the right time, but the wrong guy. And so we have all the colors coming out in the preamble song, but when we get to Squabble Up, the only one that's dancing with him is red. Now, I actually don't know what that means, and I'm going to watch this like 13 more times. I obviously think that red can represent blood. It like not as just in the gang affiliation, but like literal violence. And the song is called Squabble Up. And so he's up there singing this song, talking about squabble up, talking about fighting, right? The revolution will be televised, right time, wrong guy, squabble up. And then Uncle Sam interjects, no.
No, 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 no! Too loud, too reckless, too ghetto. Mr. Lamar, do you really know how to play the game? Then tighten up!
No, like this is too ghetto, too loud. This is not what America wants. And then he asks him, Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Lamar, do you know how to play the game? And when he says that, Kendrick goes into the song Humble, which I just mentioned, may be a song called Humble, but it is not in any way, shape, or form a song about actual humility. And as he's singing this song, as he's rapping this song, he is standing in the middle of his dancers that are standing in formation of an American flag. Now, this was a particularly potent moment for me, and I've seen a lot of people online share the picture of this moment, where he is rapping in the middle of this moment. He is rapping about being humble, surrounded by the flag, surrounded by the symbolism of freedom for the world that doesn't actually mean freedom for the individual Kendrick, who is trapped in this game. But as he begins to get to the hook of Humble, the flag starts to move away from him. And he gets to the end of that hook, and all of a sudden, the flag scrambles. All the dancers begin to scramble, and he pivots from being humble to talking about how I got loyalty, got royalty inside my DNA. And if you remember, DNA starts out with a clip of Fox News upset with him because he has the audacity to say, and we hate Po-Po, want to kill us dead in the streets for a show. And he performed that, and Fox News was like, I don't like it. And then, Hidalgo was like, this is why I say that rap music has done more damage to African Americans than racism ever has, which first of all is a wild statement. But second of all, is an encapsulation of what America believes not only about black people, but about hip hop culture. And Kendrick stands in the midst of that. And he is actually, if you understand the album, Damn, he's talking about his own DNA, but he's also talking about the DNA of America and how all of the violence that he describes that's in his DNA around growing up in Compton, around being around folks who are gang affiliated, all of that same violence in that DNA is in America. And so for America to look down on Kendrick Lamar because he's telling the truth about his experience, about the violence that America has inflicted on his neighborhood, has inflicted on his people, it is so contradictory. It is so hypocritical. And so here he is saying right in that, just braggadocio and loudly saying, no, I got all this in my DNA. And once he is declared that I've moved past being humble, pretending to be humble, and I'm telling y'all what I got in my DNA, he pivots into Euphoria. And I promise you, when I heard the horns for Euphoria, I lost it. Because I didn't see that coming. I don't think anybody saw Euphoria being performed. Euphoria is my favorite. I like Euphoria more than I like Not Like Us. Euphoria is my second favorite song from the Beef. 616 in LA is my first, but that's just because it's butter. But if the song I'm going to go back and listen to, Euphoria is at the beginning of my workout playlist. I'm on the elliptical, I'm on a treadmill, I'm on the bike, or I'm at the beginning part of my workout. And I'm like, now let me say I'm the biggest hater. I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk. And so when that came on, it was like, man, it was transitioning from this space of being like, fine, you know what? I remember syrup sandwiches and crime allowances to being like, so I'm out the way and I'm okay. And I learned here remote, okay. I ain't thinking about no reaper. I'm reaping what I sow, okay. Man. And it should also be noted that he opens up rapping a song that no one knows. He goes into Squabble Up and is really leaning into the verses that are heavy. I saw a lot of people talk about, man, I wish there would have been subtitles, or people don't really know the music like this. And I think that's the point. We're going to get to that at the end here, but I think that's kind of a point that he's getting at, is he's not doing the thing. Ultimately, and I'm getting way ahead of myself, but ultimately the game says, do the hits and say it in a way that everyone can understand. And what he's doing is he's subverting the game actively while telling a story about how to do it. So we get Euphoria. And I was like, there we go. And then we get Man in the Garden, which is also wild to me because I didn't have that anywhere near. Had you Humble and DNA, of course, Squabble Up, all three of those songs we just mentioned, everyone was like, he'll do those three songs. But the Man in the Garden and Euphoria, specifically Man in the Garden, I did not have that on my bingo card. And so here he is on a corner, surrounded by people in white, right? He's now on the street, got the street light and everything. And he's out here rapping, I deserve it all. I deserve it all. And Uncle Sam shows up and says something so fascinating.
Oh, see you brought your homeboys with you. The old culture cheat code. Scorekeeper, deduct one life.
And so I think this could be taken two ways, right? One is the idea of violating the thing that Uncle Sam is telling him. It's like, you're being too loud, too ghetto. And he just went right into these right? Just right into that. And also he says bringing your homeboys, the culture cheat code, remove one life. is that, like, now obviously it's a part of the game, so like remove a life from the game, but also there's an element of truth to how the gathering of black men oftentimes leads to the death of someone in Uncle Sam's game that we are collectively living in. And Kendrick knows this better than I even do, right? Growing up in Compton and the ways in which the gathering of black men can lead to suspicions of violence, and then police interaction, and how police interaction like escalates things, and then boom, you see these collective deaths. And we also see this at the end of the album version of where Kendrick talks about how many homies have we lost last year, right? This is a consistent thematic for him throughout his music, is talking about the people who were lost either to gang violence or to the police. And so he's kind of making his way through these different elements, and he ends up in the X section of the controller as Peekaboo starts. Now, I know Peekaboo has kind of been a popular song on TikTok, specifically the boom bop boom bop bam, the type of I'm on it, you wouldn't understand, right? Like, which is funny because he actually doesn't do that part of the song. But I was like, okay, Peekaboo makes sense because it has been kind of popular, but it lands himself in this X portion of the controller, which is going to be important that we come back to, that like he's moving throughout the game, because this entire thing is a satire. Uncle Sam shows up on the corner where he is and is like, deduct a life, and he ends up in another part of the game. I'll say that one more time. Uncle Sam shows up to that corner under that street light where Kendrick is with all those guys, and Kendrick moves into another part of the game. He moves into another part of the controller. He has to navigate to another part of the game after this interaction with Uncle Sam. And he gets there, they do part of Peekaboo, and then we get probably one of my favorite moments on the entirety of the Super Bowl halftime show is when he's like, hey, I want to do their favorite song. I want to do the favorite song, but, somebody likes to sue. And they're like, what song? Ba, 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 da. Yeah, that's the one. And I was like, is he about to do this right now? Like, is he gonna do it right now? But for him to tease it, like, for him to like edge it, and be like, I want to do this song, but lawsuits, like they just, litigious, right? And like, Drake just like throwing out lawsuits at this point. And I'm sorry, I don't know why I went into Will Smith there, but just rock with me. And so, yeah, I saw that going differently in my mind. Check it out. No, anyway. So to tease Not Like Us at that point and to hear the crowd go up when they hear the horns. You could hear the crowd get hyped when they heard the Not Like Us horns. Or Not Like Us strings, I should say. And I was like, ooh. And he's like, you know what? Nah, I'll slow it down. If this world were mine. And boom, we get SZA. And I think it's so interesting that we transition from this braggadocio and him being like, I want to do this. I want to make a move. Like, I want to do something that the game doesn't really want me to do. Like, I want to do it. And it's like, you know what? No, I'm actually not going to do that. I'm going to move to another part of the controller and I'm going to do the thing that's being asked of me. And that I think that's part of the story. Part of the story is how sometimes you can have all this brash and braggadocio. And when Uncle Sam is like, deduct a life. When Uncle Sam is yelling at you saying, you can't do that. It's like, okay, maybe I'll just slow it down and move it to another part. And Uncle Sam says, you lost your damn mind when he even mentions doing Not Like Us. So he moves into another part of the controller and we get Luther with SZA. And we get All the Stars with SZA, which I think, interestingly, and this is a theme I want to keep coming back to around the set list. Once again, Humble, DNA, Squabble Up, all make sense to me. They all should have been on the set list. Anybody who's just picking a set list for this is picking all those songs. Man in the Garden, Euphoria, an unreleased snippet, Peekaboo. I don't know. Peekaboo is an iffy one, but I don't know if I'm picking those other three. If I'm just like, we're going to go out here and we're going to expand our audience and we're going to nail this thing. We want to make sure that we have the most streams after this. We're going to be the most streamed artist. Like, he said it. Expect storytelling. And he's telling a story here. And he's even using SZA as a part of telling the story, because when he finally goes to do the thing that Uncle Sam tells him to do, it's 2 R&B songs. It's 2 songs that are slower. It's 2 songs that are much easier to understand lyrically. Whereas for the rest of the set so far, he's been rapping hard. He's self-censoring in a really funny way. For anybody who's ever like, how do I not say the N-word if Kendrick can avoid saying the N-word in his own songs? I'm just saying. But the records are slower. It's a lot easier to understand. I mean, Luther's SZA's most streamed song, if I'm not mistaken, right? All the Stars was a hit. Not only was it a hit, it was a part of the soundtrack of one of the highest grossing films of this century, right? And so like moving into that set, that act, that suite of the performance, he's really doing what is expected of him for 2 songs. So SZA is being used as kind of the catalyst for him doing the thing that is expected of him at the Super Bowl halftime show, which is to do something that calms America, makes them feel good. Everyone's okay with 2 black people stepping on stage and singing back and forth to each other, right? All the stars are closer. Like, that's fine, right? It's beautiful. That's Luther Vandross. Oh my gosh, I like this, right? Like it actually leans completely into what he's being told to do. So much so that Uncle Sam comes on at the end and goes, "That's what I'm talking about, Kendrick." Here's what he says.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what America wants. Nice and calm. You're almost there. Don't mess this.
Oh no. It's a cultural divide. I'm gonna get it.
And the first thing that Kendrick says on the other side of Uncle Sam saying, "Don't mess this up," is Kendrick says, "There's a cultural divide," right? And then he goes on to say, 40 acres and a mule, this is more than just the music. Now, once again, Uncle Sam promises Kendrick 40 acres and a mule in Wesley's theory. What you want, you a house, you a car, 40 acres and a mule, a piano, a guitar, anything. Say, my name is Uncle Sam, I'm your dog. Mother, you can live at the mall. I know you're kind, that's why I'm kind. Don't have receipts, okay, that's fine. Pay me later, wear those gators, cliche. And like, Uncle Sam is promising him 40 acres and a mule. And so when Kendrick says 40 acres and a mule, this is more than just the music. He's saying, I'm actually going to forfeit the promise that Uncle Sam has for me if I win this game by doing this song. I'm willing to lose the game in order to do the song, to do the thing that Uncle Sam is saying I shouldn't do. Him making that decision is amazing in the grand scheme of the story. It is him actually overcoming Uncle Sam in the story. It's him subverting the game in the story, even though he was just playing along the rules of the game 2 songs earlier. It's beautiful storytelling. And there we get Not Like Us begins. And it was the moment we were all waiting for. I said beforehand that Drake starting this lawsuit or filing this lawsuit kind of almost forced Kendrick's hand. Like, he couldn't not do the song at this point. And if I'm the NFL and if I'm Fox, I'm like, boy, if you do not do this song, I swear everyone's going to tune in just to see you do this song, right? And so he goes on to do the song, mentions, by the way, way earlier, like, there's a song I want to do, but some folks like to sue. And here it is. He starts right at the top. Hey, mustard on that beat, ho, re-wrote any rap. He a free throw man down, call it ambulance. By the way, one of my favorite things that he does in this particular portion of the song is he self-censors himself, right? And by self-censoring, he actually changes the lyric in order to make sure that the censoring that he does matches. He does it right here.
Sometimes you gotta pop out and show. Certified boogeyman, I'm the one that up the skull. Walking down the whole time, I know he got some hoe. Bully the fro.
There's also the moment where he says, how many ops you really got? I mean, it's too many options. I'm finna crash on his body. I'm John Stockton. And all the dancers, except for a couple, fall to the ground like they're chalk outlines. That was a cool moment. But the moment that's going to live rent free in my head, as he's walking down say Drake, I hear you like I'm young. Like the look in the camera and the smile, as if to say, did you think I wasn't gonna say your name, fool? Do you think I was just gonna bypass this? I was just gonna do the beginning part and then move on to They Not Like Us? No, I'm not only going to say it, I'm gonna say Drake, I hear you like I'm young, and every one of the dancers is like, you better never go to Cell Block 1. Like, it is perfection. And then on top of that, when he gets to certified lover boy, certified pedophiles, what you have is certified lover boy, certified, and there's a scream in the back. Now, that scream could be Uncle Sam being like, ah, what are you doing, right? But why you trolling like a, ain't you tired trying to strike a chord? And it's probably A minor. And hearing the stadium. I've seen videos of folks who were in the stadium being shocked at the fact that the entire stadium sang A minor. I was in a bar and everyone in the room sang A minor, even the DJ that was playing a lot of Drake before we got to the Super Bowl halftime show. Like, millions of Americans all over the world sang A minor. That was the moment that Drake was trying to avoid. And I just know he's in Australia right now. Like, I don't think bro slept. Ain't no way he slept. He's got to perform today, you know, but ain't no way bro slept. And so we get that. And then we get Serena Williams. I literally screamed, Serena! Now, I did see a theory in my comment section that mentioned that SZA is technically an ex of Drake. That Serena is an ex of Drake. And then when they did Peekaboo, they were in the X portion of the controller, which would make 3 X's. And some people are saying, oh, that's from XXX Tentacion. That's a whole theory and conspiracy that I'm not going to dive into because I'm just not. I don't know enough about it. And I really don't feel like that's my lane. I'm more inclined to believe that if that was intentional, it was XXX as in the song on Damn that solidified the satire about America that then Kendrick used as a satire by Kendrick Lamar in his performance at the Grammys. And so I'd be more inclined to get to that point. And then from Not Like Us, he then wraps up with TV Off, which is the perfect song to wrap up the show. I don't think Not Like Us was the perfect song. I thought TV Off, I knew he was going to do TV Off. He had to, because walking through New Orleans with the etiquette of LA screaming, Mustard! Like, had to happen, right? DJ Mustard out there just like bouncing around with the football, enjoying himself. And at the very end, I might just be hearing stuff. This could be a reach. But turn this TV off sounded a lot more like turn his TV off, and then looking in the camera one more time and smiling. Because even though Kendrick had an audience of millions, he also had an audience of one. And he had to make sure that man saw that he was telling every one of his handlers, turn that man TV off right now. Because this wasn't it. We crushed it. Like, we crushed this. So it was an absolutely incredible show. It was art. And once again, Kendrick could have got up there and did 13 minutes of hits. And it would have been awesome. And it would have been fun. That's not who Kendrick is. And I think that Roc Nation and Jay-Z and the city of New Orleans knew that when they selected Kendrick. Kendrick doesn't just get up and do that. He is an artist and he's a storyteller. That's what he was going to do the entire time. And so whether it's the character of Uncle Sam, it's also super funny to me that Samuel L. Jackson is deeply connected to Spike Lee. And Spike Lee's production company is called 40 Acres and a Mule. That's a whole nother layer that just makes sense to me. And so for Uncle Sam to be promising 40 Acres and a Mule, and for that to be played by Samuel L. Jackson, who's connected to Spike Lee, whose production company is 40 Acres and a Mule, it's fun for me to make that connection, right? But so you've got that element. You got Uncle Sam. You've got the game pieces at play. You've got the fact that the set list moves us through the idea of being antagonistic against the game and then finally relenting to the game and then being like, no, I got to be myself. And at the end, game over. Now, we don't know if Kendrick wins or loses the game at this point. We just know that the game's over. And so he's telling this story, and I love how artistic it was, how much symbolism there was, both in the immediate of what America is, what it looks like to be black in America, but also like on the macro and on the micro, how it connects to Kendrick's discography, and in particular, Damn, To Pimp a Butterfly, and the beef with Drake. Like, I just think it's so intertwined that he almost didn't have to do some of those songs. For those of us who are going to go looking, we can see those connections. And I honestly think, in the same way I said that Beyonce's Cowboy Carter was like, I don't care what them white folks think, I'm gonna make country music anyway. I think that this performance by Kendrick was like, I actually don't care if white people get it, because they are feeding Uncle Sam to make me play this game. But if you look close enough, you'll see exactly what he was trying to pull off. And so I just think it's a satire about the game America wants us to play, but it's also how one player decides to do it his way. How he walked into New Orleans with the etiquette of LA screaming mustard. And I'm so excited to continue to dive into this. Thank you so much for listening to this. And thanks for coming to my Wayne Talk. This episode of the Just Wayne Show is written by me, Just Wayne. The theme music is Attention, also by me, Just Wayne, from my album Algorithm and Blues. If you like this episode, please take a second, like it, comment on it, share it, subscribe to the page. I will be back here later on this week talking about whatever's happening in the world of culture and music and all of that jazz. But until then, thanks for coming to my Wayne Talk.